LSJDrive.
Hello and welcome to the LSJDrive. We are live from the studios at the University of Lincoln. My name is Kylie Lindsay and I'm your presenter this afternoon. We've got a packed show to look forward to today. Coming up in the next half hour, our reporter Finlay Smithson finds out what changes are being made by the Football Association and what this could mean for youth football in Lincolnshire. Our reporter Joe Jeremy will be joining us to talk all things darts, and Lingdom Hockey Club receives a huge honour with not one but three of their players being picked to play for England at an international level. Also, there is the return of the quiz. But first, the mayoral candidates for Greater Lincolnshire have now been confirmed. The Conservatives, Labour and the Independents all have a candidate to lead the new combined authority. Alex Strong reports.
On May the 1st, the people of Lincolnshire will have the choice between 4 different candidates to spearhead the county's next era. This comes as part of a new devolution deal for the new Greater Lincolnshire, which will welcome in a funding package as well as a representative in Westminster. Conservative Party candidate Rob Waltham sees this new project as a positive for the area.
And that's what good government intervention looks like. Me and my career when I worked for government, that's the stuff we loved. We loved a project that you could get other investment as part of it. And of course that way you know it's not all dependent on the taxpayer, and also everybody else wants to make it a success.
Running for Labour is Grimsby Town FC co-owner Jason Stockwood, whilst former Tory MP Dame Andrea Jenkins is representing Reform UK. Most recently, Lincolnshire's Independence Group have announced Marianne Overton as their first choice. The winner will find themselves earning in excess of £80,000 a year. They will also be responsible for spending the £24 million a year investment package into Greater Lincolnshire. Rob Waltham has stated that creating more jobs would be of significant importance to him if he were voted in.
I don't want the brain drain, because it really is. If you've got to your level and have completed a good degree in a good university like this, your skills and talent should find a home in this county.
Now the contenders are well known and their campaigns in full motion, the people of Lincolnshire will have to wait until early May to have their say. Lincolnshire's county council elections also happen to be on the same day.
Time for my favourite part of the programme, the quiz. We have our quiz master, Thomas, sat here with us to ask the all-important questions. So, Thomas, what is the topic for today?
Well, as many of the people listening in, as well as you, hopefully, Kylie, will know, it was Shrove Tuesday, otherwise known as Pancake Day, a couple of days ago. Therefore, the topic for today will be questions all based around this famous day. Some of these questions may be quite difficult to answer, but you have to try your best, as if you do not get more than half correct, you'll have to do a forfeit. So, without further ado, let's get to the first question. So, how many days exactly is Shrove Tuesday before Easter Sunday? I'll be back a little bit later to hear your answer.
We all know that football is the most popular sport in the country, and for many years it has been the centre of weekends for adults and their children, not only for watching it, but for playing too. However, the Football Association has announced a set of changes to the sport that could see a completely different approach in youth football. Finlay Smithson has more.
When you think football, you think 11 versus 11. But how about 3 versus 3? Well, that's just one of the many rules being brought into youth football by the FA from the 2026-27 season. This includes the delay in complex rules until young people reach secondary school, the adjustment of pitch sizes and the way matches are restarted to give the players as much time on the ball as they can. I spoke to Lincolnshire FA's Head of Development, Jake Park, who feels that the improvements being made will make the upcoming batch of players better on a technical basis.
They're hoping that the changes that they make are going to allow players more time on the ball and more touches of the ball, as you've just referred to, in terms of making them more kind of technical and increase their physical activity levels as well.
The research, in place with Liverpool John Moores University, looked into the grassroots format for youth players in European countries such as France, Spain and the Netherlands, before deciding to come up with a change of their own, their first since the last review in 2010. Whilst it's going to take time to adjust for junior clubs and the players, Jake Park believes it's going to be a successful project when it begins in 18 months.
Players tend to like smaller formats, so it's how do we retain young players that are in the game currently whilst making it a more attractive sport to join, and I think the changes that are coming in will enable for that to happen.
It doesn't all begin at the start of the season in 2026, however. The FA is delivering a face-to-face league officials workshop across the country on March 28th, as well as a broadcast on YouTube to stakeholders to start to get the planning across to everybody. It's safe to say that whilst grassroots clubs and local FAs have to work hard in the build-up to this change, it's all for the greater good, with the FA hoping for a new batch of stars on the big stage in years to come.
In the Darts Premier League continues tonight as Week 5 kicks off in Brighton. 8 of the best players in the world will be looking to get points on the board as they set their eyes on the final in the OT Arena in May. Well, our reporter Joe Jeremy loves his darts and joins me now. For those who don't know, what's the Premier League all about?
Yeah, so the Darts Premier League is the 8 best players in the world, picked based on their performance over the last calendar year in 2024. The top 4 get in automatically, and they're the top 4 players in the world based on the order of merit, and the rest are wildcard picks that the PDC choose themselves. It's 17 nights of darts on a Thursday for 17 weeks in different locations. The top 4 in the table at the end of 16 weeks go into a playoff on the last week at the O2 Arena in London.
So what sort of venues will they be playing in?
Yeah, so some of the biggest venues around Europe. 14 of the dates are in the UK, in places like Belfast, Glasgow, Manchester and Nottingham. The other 3 venues are Dublin in Ireland, Berlin in Germany and Rotterdam in the Netherlands. And tonight is taking place at the Brighton Arena.
And who should we look out for in this year's competition?
So as it's been for the same for the last 2 years, it will be a battle between the world number 1 Luke Humphries and the young star Luke Littler. Those two will be battling out. Luke Littler won the UK Open last Saturday, but did lose in the final in last week's Premier League to Luke Humphries. As always, you can't forget about Michael van Gerwen. He's won the competition 7 times, more than any other player in history, the last coming in 2023. My underdog pick for the tournament is Gerwin Price. He struggled the last 2 years but managed to win in Dublin, and I'd say those are my predictions for the last 4 at the end of the 17 weeks.
Well, that all sounds very exciting. Let's hope we can watch some great darts tonight and going forward. I'm at 3:16 p.m. Here are the LSJDrive headlines with Cameron Talbot.
A mother from Wiltshire has pled guilty to causing the death of her 9-year-old son by dangerous driving. Barbara Rowe appeared at Bournemouth Crown Court today admitting the charge. Her son Zach Rowe died at the scene of the crash in North Dorset on the 25th of March 2024. Organisers today have announced that the 1975 and Olivia Rodrigo will be the headline acts of Glastonbury 2025. It is the first time either act will have headlined the pyramid stage, with Rodrigo becoming the second youngest headline act at 22 years of age. Councillors in West Lindsey, Lincolnshire, have rejected proposals for a single county-wide unitary authority for Lincolnshire. Under the proposals, the county, city and district councils, along with Lincolnshire County Council, would have been merged into what people were dubbing a remote mega-council for Lincolnshire. A Gloucestershire woman has won a High Court case against major UK and Irish bookmaker Paddy Power. Corinne Derber won £1 million jackpot playing on the app's casino game, but was only paid £20,000 until successfully winning her appeal today.
Now it's been lovely and warm in Lincoln today with lots of sun throughout. Will it stay this way? Here's Cameron Smith with the weather.
This afternoon and evening it's going to continue nicely with more cloud cover expected before sunset. Some rain will likely arrive at around 8 p.m, but not for long and should be clear by 10. The temperature remains fairly mild with lows of 10 degrees in the early hours. Unfortunately tomorrow though will be a little cloudier with sun scattered sporadically throughout the day. The temperature remains warm, however, just 2 degrees colder than today with the highs of 15 tomorrow. UV is starting to increase in the sunny patches, so it could be time to buy some sun cream before it gets too expensive.
Sounds good, Cameron. Thank you. Looking good in the skies, not so good on the roads though, Cameron.
Thanks, Kylie. It's starting to get busier now as we approach rush hour. There's lots of delays in the city centre, particularly along Monks Road and Silver Street. Roadworks on Wigford Way is what is causing the delays there, as it usually does. The St Mark's area is also congested with heavy traffic on Tenster Cross Street and the B1262. Outside of the city centre, the A15 is especially jammed near Netherham, with roads in Ermine by the Shell garage busy too. Lastly, Carhome Road is getting increasingly busy by the minute. That's all for now.
Thank you, Cameron. Plans for a nuclear waste dump to be built in Thedlestone.
Lastly, Carhome Road is getting increasingly busy by the minute. That's all for now.
Plans for a nuclear waste dump to be built in Thedlethorpe have been put on hold. East Lindsey District Council leader, Councillor Craig Leyland, has urged his executive to withdraw from the process. But what will happen next? Here is Jack Mooney to tell us more.
We usually see holes being drilled into the ground whenever roadworks are taking place. But what about a giant hole of 4 kilometres squared just to dump nuclear waste in? Plans made by the Nuclear Waste Service to build a dump in Thedlethorpe have been put on hold following a statement from the leader of the East Lindsey District Council. Councillor Craig Leyland has urged his executive to unanimously withdraw from the process following alterations to the original proposal put forward to them in 2021. Secretary of the Nuclear Free Local Authorities, Richard Outram, tells us more about the proposal put forward to the council.
The original proposal they had with Nuclear Waste Services was to invite them to investigate the suitability of the gas terminal. Once they chose to move away from that, the council obviously used that as an opportunity to redetermine whether they felt they were still able to continue with the process, and have decided that given that it's now an agricultural site, it's inappropriate to do so.
And he appears to agree with the decision of Councillor Leyland.
My view on that is, I can understand that because one, it's a different proposition than it originally was, but also two, I can't see how the council could support a proposal to develop a large-scale construction project on an agricultural site when its position is to oppose solar farms and wind turbines being built on similar land.
The new proposal would see a nuclear waste dump being placed between Gayton Le Marsh and Great Carlton. The dump would be placed on a 4 kilometre squared parcel of greenfield land near the Lincolnshire Wolds, a stark contrast from the brownfield area of the Thedlethorpe dump. However, the process may still be in motion if Lincolnshire County Council do not back East Lindsey's decision.
It doesn't derail the whole process, because Lincolnshire is still engaged as a relevant principal local authority. So the consideration then is whether Lincolnshire might choose to withdraw as well, given it has a similar view on the development of agricultural land for energy projects.
Around 10 minutes ago, we heard the first question in our quiz, and it is now time for me to try and get the correct answer. Thomas, can you please remind us of what the first question was?
Yes, I can indeed. So, the question was, how many days is Shrove Tuesday exactly before Easter Sunday? I've given you a little bit of time to think about it, so what is your guess?
So, Shrove Tuesday was 2 days ago.
Correct.
And Easter Sunday is going to be on the 20th of April. And then, 20 plus... maybe like 40 days.
Okay, 40 days is your guess. The answer is actually 47 days. However, 40 days is usually mistaken because that's how long Lent actually is. So, you know, that's probably the same answer as the majority of people. But we'll move on to the next question. So staying on the theme, on the topic of Pancake Day, there are many toppings for people to try, but what is the nation's favourite topping for pancakes? Just like last time, I'll give you a little bit of time to think, and you can give me your answer.
Thank you, Tom. Lindham Hockey Club's men's first team have had 3 of their over 35 players called up to represent England at international level. Vice-captain Ross Booth, as well as Sam Dixon and Joey Finding, have been selected. So the question is, how will they cope on the international scene? Here to tell us more is Roberto Hollis.
Ross Booth, Joey Finding and Sam Dixon from Lindham Hockey's men's first team have been called up for the over-35s England team. I spoke to Ross Booth himself to see how it made him feel to be picked as one of England Hockey's over-35s players.
It's an honour to be selected for England, and it's something that you kind of dream of when you're young. You want to pull on your England shirt and represent your country, so it's a great honour to be selected. And I can't wait to get going. Lindham are the most represented side in the over-35s this year, again, which is an honour for the club, and I know the club are very excited for that.
I also spoke to men's club captain Louis Sadler to see what he felt about the situation for his teammates Ross, Sam and Joey getting picked for England's team.
Very proud to have some international accolades within the club. Great players, 3 great lads. Very proud. It's really good from a club perspective. Obviously great to see on social media to get the news out that everyone's been part of the England 35s team. Wish them all the best of luck. Definitely inspiration to a lot of players. I know we've certainly got a few other lads that are sort of early 30s, so I imagine they'll be inspired as well to try and maybe put on an England shirt one day as well. Booth is vice-captain, he's a very senior member of the team, as are Dixon and Joey. They're already leading by example.
I also asked Ross about the difference between playing at league level with Lindham Hockey and playing for the over-35s at international level.
The over-35s hockey is a slightly different challenge, especially because in our league at the moment we've got 5 university sides, so they play a very different game. So the intensity is nearly higher within our league hockey at the moment in terms of there are probably more turnovers, but the kind of intensity of the running is probably harder. However, then when you get into the over-35s, the international hockey, the ball is very rarely turned over, so the skill level is extremely high and they don't lose the ball, so it's a different kind of game.
Ross Booth, Sam Dixon and Joey Finding will hope that their England debuts and call-ups will be successful in the coming years and months.
Now, with the time at 4:17 p.m, here are the LSJDrive headlines with Cameron Talbot.
Based on new statistics released by the General Medical Council, female doctors now outnumber their male counterparts for the first time ever in the UK, with 57.7% of the workforce made up of female doctors. Dr Latifa Patel, chairwoman of the British Medical Association representative body, called the development a significant milestone for the profession and for patients. Saturday night's Brit Awards have drawn criticism from the public, drawing a record number of 825 complaints to media watchdog Ofcom. An Ofcom spokesperson said, "We are assessing the complaints against our rules, but are yet to decide whether or not to investigate." The 4 UK nations are planning to submit a joint bid to host a FIFA Women's World Cup in 2035. This follows Wednesday's decision by the FIFA Council to recommend that the 2035 tournament is hosted in Europe or in Africa. The demolition of a pedestrian bridge looks set to happen in May as part of a multi-million-pound hotel development in Lincoln. The footbridge on Melville Street is a popular spot for photographers due to scenic views of the city and Lincoln Cathedral.
Now, there is still more to come in the next half hour. Our reporter, Isabel Ames, tells us about the oil drilling plans that are being revisited. Chris Sebastian attends a championship in table cricket, and Lincolnshire FA have launched a girls-only course in refereeing, and the drill in Lincoln has had a revamp. Now, the time is 4:19 p.m. Let's have a look at the past week's sports news with Ollie Sansom.
Lincoln City soared to a dominant victory against Crawley Town, managing to win 4-1. This was despite conceding within the first 10 minutes. This didn't affect the Imps, however, as they scored 3 goals within 18 minutes to give them a 2-goal lead going into half-time. Lincoln have a difficult game this weekend as they face top of the table Birmingham away from home. A big day for Lindham Hockey Club as they have had 3 of their first team players called up to represent England's over-35s at an international level. It has also been a successful week for the English clubs competing in Europe so far, with all the teams that played in the Champions League this week managing to pick up a victory. Aston Villa picked up a 3-1 away win against Club Brugge. Arsenal showed a dominant display as they scored 7 against Dutch side PSV Eindhoven, and finally Harvey Elliott scored late on to give Liverpool a 1-0 win against French giants PSG. Chelsea and Tottenham are both playing tonight against FC Copenhagen and AZ Alkmaar respectively, so both of these sides will be hoping to have the same results as their English counterparts. Former Chelsea and Man United boss Jose Mourinho has had to defend himself against allegations from Galatasaray that he made racist statements following the 0-0 draw between Fenerbahce and Galatasaray on the 24th of February. Jose has said that he is the opposite of racist and that Galatasaray were not clever in the way that they had attacked him because they clearly didn't know his past. Former Chelsea and Galatasaray striker Didier Drogba has come out and defended his former manager, saying, "I've known Jose for 25 years and he is not a racist and history is there to prove it. How can my dad be a racist? Come on guys." And finally, Formula 1 is back next Sunday, with the opening race being held at Melbourne for the first time since 2019. The start of a new season always brings a buzz, and it is no different this year as there are 6 new rookies joining the grid for the start of the 2025 season. The big news, however, going into this season was Sir Lewis Hamilton leaving Mercedes, where he has won 6 of his 7 drivers' titles to join rivals Ferrari. We'll be finding more about F1 later in the programme. You are now all caught up on this sports headlines this week.
The energy company Egdon Resources are reappealing their plans to drill for oil in Biscathorpe, Lincolnshire. This is the 3rd time the appeal has been examined following backlash from the local environment campaigners. Isabel Ames has the report.
Biscathorpe is located in the Lincolnshire Wolds. In 2021, Lincolnshire County Council refused any oil drilling plans for Biscathorpe. However, this decision was appealed by Egdon Resources, an American-owned energy company. In November 2023, Egdon's plans to drill for oil in Biscathorpe were approved by the government. Christine Brookman is from SOS Biscathorpe, a local campaign group who hope to overturn this decision once again. I met with her at a protest she organised on Lincoln High Street. She told me that the landscape at Biscathorpe needs fighting for.
It's a chalk landscape. It has one of only 200 chalk streams in the world. And it's designated, just let me check it because it's changed from being an area of outstanding natural beauty. It's now the Wolds National Landscape. So it's just a very beautiful area, totally unspoilt.
Brookman added how her biggest concern is whether the oil produced will reinforce the UK's energy security. This means making stable and accessible energy sources which will meet the UK's energy needs for the future.
The oil produced will only produce 3 barrels a year. It will all be sold on the open market. It won't reinforce our UK energy security. It'll be sold to the highest bidder. We won't see any of the energy and we won't see any of the profit.
The process of drilling for oil releases greenhouse gases, which are toxic and contribute to climate change. Andrew Kathriosis is a climate change researcher. He told me how Lincolnshire is extremely vulnerable to climate change and has already started to experience its impacts.
So Lincolnshire is probably is the most vulnerable county in the UK to climate change because of the coastline that we have, and also for the river systems that we have that are very, very susceptible to flooding.
SOS Biscathorpe hope that, if they are successful and put an end to the oil drilling plans for Biscathorpe, then their fight could be used as an example to change the way future fossil fuel developments are considered.
It is now time for the quiz once again, and Thomas is back to give us the answer to the last question. But first, can you repeat the question, please, Tom?
Of course I can, yeah. So, the question was, what is the nation's most popular topping for pancakes? Do you have any idea?
I think I do, but first I've got a question for you.
Okay.
What's your favourite topping?
My favourite topping might give away the answer, so I might keep that to myself, actually.
Oh, really? Okay, let me think. it's got to be like something like sweet, so maybe like sugar and lemon.
I can say that is the correct answer for this one. So you've got 1 out of 2 so far. So just to remind you, before I ask the next question, you'll have to do a forfeit if you fail to get the next question correct.
Do you remember your forfeit from last week?
I do remember my forfeit, so
Beautiful singing
yeah,
voice.
thank you very much, thank you. So in terms of questions, I think the hardest one has been left till last. Okay. So yeah, let's see how you get on with this one. So the question is, how many eggs are used in the UK on Pancake Day?
That is a really exciting question. We will be back in around 10 minutes to hear the answer. Over 200 children from SEND schools across Lincolnshire took part in the Table Cricket Championship last week. Table cricket is an adapted version of the sport which is specially designed for young people with disabilities. Chris Sebastian went to the championship to find out more about the sport.
When you think of sports played on tables, what springs to mind? Maybe table tennis, or perhaps a buteo. But how about table cricket? Well, although it may be an unknown sport for some, table cricket has grown extensively in the last few years, with over 8,000 young people participating across the UK in 2024.
Well done, good lad. Right, new batting, new bowler.
The sport was invented by Doug Williamson in 1990 with the aim of providing a specially designed version of cricket for people with physical and learning disabilities. Here's Lincolnshire Disability Officer Neil Wheeler to explain how the sport is played.
So it's a table played ideally on a table tennis table with barriers round the side, and if they hit near them, they get 2, medium distance 4, if it's the furthest away 6. But the opponents have got like sliders, like markers, to stop them hitting the barriers. And if they stop that, they can either be dot ball, so no score, or they lose a wicket, so they lose 5 runs.
The sport's popularity has risen in Lincolnshire, mainly due to the free coaching provided by Lincolnshire Cricket Club in 27 SEN schools across the county. The club also hosts the regional table cricket inter-school championships each year. St Lawrence's School in Louth competed in this year's tournament, and their head teacher Herbie Taylor feels pupils benefit from representing their schools in competitive sport.
For these students as well, because it's so inclusive and all of the students within our school would have been able to come today, so there's some students that are representing St Lawrence that have not been able to participate in other sports, so it's really nice to see them come and engage with the other students.
This year's tournament was won by Aga Specialist Academy by a slender margin of just 3 points. They will now get the chance to represent Lincolnshire at the National Table Cricket Championship, held at Lord's Cricket Ground later this year.
That has been an amazing day of table cricket. Give yourselves a massive...
Now, with the time at 4:28 p.m, here are the LSJDrive headlines with Cameron Talbot.
A Gloucestershire woman has won a High Court case against major UK and Irish bookmaker Paddy Power. Corinne Derber won a £1 million jackpot playing on the app's casino game, but was only paid £20,000 until successfully winning her appeal today. Councillors in West Lindsey, Lincolnshire, have rejected proposals for a single county-wide unitary authority for Lincolnshire. Under the proposals, the county city and district councils, along with Lincolnshire County Council, would have merged into what people were dubbing a remote mega-council for Lincolnshire. Organisers today have announced that the 1975 and Olivia Rodrigo will be the headline acts of Glastonbury 2025. It is the first time either act will have headlined the Pyramid Stage, with Rodrigo becoming the second youngest headline act at 22 years of age. The demolition of a pedestrian bridge looks set to happen in May as part of a multi-million-pound hotel development in Lincoln. The footbridge on Melville Street is a popular spot for photographers due to scenic views of the city and Lincoln Cathedral.
Thank you, Cameron. Now let's rejoin Cameron with a travel update. How's it looking now?
It's now got worse on Tentacroft Street, with traffic bleeding into EW Link Road and Kesteven Street onto the A1434. Further along the A Road, joining is difficult as both Norman Street and Pelham Street are backed up too. Brayford Way has got a lot busier with traffic continuing through there and onto the West End area as well. It's also very busy in the South Commons area on St Catherine Street too. Finally, up the hill is looking busier, particularly in the Eastgate region. That's all for the traffic.
Thank you, Cameron.
With another recap on the weather, this afternoon and evening it's going to continue nicely with more cloud cover expected before sunset. Some rain will likely arrive at around 8 p.m, but not for long and should be clear by 10. The temperature remains fairly mild with lows of 10 degrees in the early hours. Unfortunately, tomorrow will be a little cloudier though, with sun scattered sporadically throughout the day. The temperature remains warm, however, just 2 degrees colder than today, with highs of 15 tomorrow. UV is starting to increase in the sunny patches, so it could be time to buy some sun cream before it gets too expensive.
Thank you, Cameron. Now, over the last couple of years, the referee scene has seen a positive switch with the number of female referees now on the rise. This could be seen across Lincolnshire within the next year, as Links FA have launched the return of the girls-only courses. Spencer O'Leary has been finding out more.
Across the country's football matches, right from the top of the Premier League down to the grassroots levels, there is always a third team on the pitch, the officials. Whilst these unsung heroes make these fixtures possible, the appreciation for them no longer seems to be there. Across the country, there is still a clear difference between the amount of male and female officials that are operating. That's why Lincolnshire FA are bringing back a girls-only referee course to help the next generation of young female referees develop. It's the first time Links FA have run the scheme in over a decade. The referee development manager at Lincolnshire FA, Declan Ford, says the course will help combat any discrimination.
Some of the girls who come into it now, that's one of the things they say. They say, oh yeah, I want to be the role model for the 12, 13 who are playing and don't have female referees. So we're going to get more female refs involved, refereeing female games, but refereeing boys' games as well. So we get to that stage where it's, oh, we're a female ref this week, to 5 years till decides just we don't ref this week. It doesn't matter on the gender.
The FA announced in October that there had been a 50% increase in the amount of female referees operating. The course is designed so that female referees can learn in a more comfortable environment with other girls of similar ages. The course is aimed at those aged 14 and higher, and Ford believes it's the perfect opportunity to develop a young person's skills.
Obviously it's slightly different in terms of female only, it's a safer space. Some of them perhaps not as confident to go into a classroom of perhaps 23 teenage lads, and you're there as the only sort of 14, 15, 16-year-old girl. It could be quite intimidating, so create this safe space, and hopefully if we get that response, we can say, yeah, it's worked, it's been effective. We can look to run a course every season.
Well, there's the final whistle in this section of the programme, but hopefully not for the girls' referee course. It's initially rolling out in Lincoln next week, and the hope is to expand it wider across the county in future months.
Now we get on to something more high octane as Drive to Survive, the hit behind the scenes TV series looking into F1, starts tomorrow, signifying the start to the racing season next week. Here are the details with George Pomenis.
Yes, the hit series that gives the people an insight is returning today as the Australian Grand Prix starts off in a week. Personally, I don't like it, but it is responsible for attracting new fans, I cannot deny.
That's good to hear, that you can respect it even if you don't like it. So what's happening in F1 as a whole?
Now, things are really ramping up this year, this 75th year of F1, as this year has been full of changes. Lewis Hamilton has left Mercedes after 12 seasons and joined Ferrari, who many consider the most iconic team in F1. Hamilton's seat, meanwhile, has been taken by rookie Andrea Kimi Antonelli, who passed his driving test only 6 weeks before his debut.
Wow, that's impressive and shows the confidence Mercedes has in its drivers. What else is happening?
Carlos Sainz has left Ferrari and joined British-based team Williams on a multi-season deal. Haas, meanwhile, has a whole new lineup as their reserve driver Oliver Bearman has been promoted to full-time driver, and Esteban Ocon has gone there from Alpine.
Are there any rookies?
Yes, there is. There is Isaac Hadjar, Gabriel Bortatello, the aforementioned Antonelli, and Jack Doohan. Meanwhile, McLaren and Aston Martin have no driver changes.
Are there any regulation changes?
The big change is the drivers will have cooling packs to stop them getting too hot under race conditions, which previously were causing drivers to develop heat stroke.
That's definitely great to hear. Improving the driver's well-being in the race is for the better. So, are there any other changes overall?
Yes, some races have been moved, as the Bahrain and Saudi Arabian Grand Prix were originally going to fall in Ramadan. Instead, the Australian Grand Prix will be the first on the calendar for the first time in 6 years.
That sounds really good, and it makes it sound inclusive and more enjoyable for the drivers. That sounds really interesting and has got me excited for the F1. The live music venue, The Drill, has been transformed after closing down after COVID with the help of the Lincoln College Group. They have been able to open more doors, not just for the artists, but for the community too. Daisy Rocket reports.
In 2021, the Lincoln College Group took over to help reshape and reopen the venue. Their hard work has led to now showcasing over 100 events and 9 sell-out shows last year alone. Located in the heart of Lincoln City Centre, the Drill has been open since 2004, but as the pandemic approached, they lost government funding and was forced to close. They helped to put the Drill back on the map for touring artists by having a brand and focusing on a younger audience. Lindsay Macer, Commercial Marketing Officer at Lincoln College, shares her feelings on the progress so far.
So yeah, I just feel really proud to be part of a great team where everyone has really strong ideas moving forward to keep on providing a really positive platform, really great positive feedback, and it's really nice to just kind of keep the place alive, because I remember growing up and coming to shows here like back when I was a kid. So
The Drill is not just about the big names like the Libertines and Martin Kemp, but for up-and-coming artists in getting their foot through the door. Cane Pit, a punk grass band from Norwich, played for the first time in Lincoln at the start of February. They toured with the rock band from Finland, Steve and the Seagulls, for their UK tour. Even though initially they were supposed to play in their hometown in Norfolk, they joined them across the UK. Daryl Blythe, band member of the Cane Pit, talked about his experience at the Drill at the start of this year.
That was like the last date of a little mini tour that we were doing, supporting another band. But it's probably like the best venue out of all the dates we done. So yeah, it was great. It was sold out, and it was a great crowd. It's the first time we played in Lincoln before, so it was a great experience.
Since the growth in the last 5 years, they have grown a supportive community and have started working with charities and Music Mind Matters. This has allowed them to work further within the community by supporting mental health within the entertainment and music industry. Grace Meadows, head of Music Minds Matters, said that their aim is to ensure individuals don't have to face challenges alone along with their mental health. By doing this, they provide resources in venues like the Drill. Now it is continuously growing with more acts joining the Lincoln family.
Now, just before the end of the programme, we must finish our quiz all around Pancake Day. Tom is back to read our final question again for us.
Yeah, here we go. So, the final question of today's quiz is how many eggs are used in the UK on Pancake Day? What is your answer?
Okay, so first, did you have a pancake this Pancake Day?
I did not. I actually forgot it was Pancake Day, funnily enough, so no, I didn't.
Okay, so if we... Around 76 million people in the UK, half people forget about Pancake Day or choose not to have them, so maybe 36 million?
Unfortunately, that is incorrect. The answer is actually 55 million.
Oh, okay.
So there are 55 million eggs used on Pancake Day in the UK. And unfortunately, because you got that question wrong, you've got less than half of the questions correct. Therefore, you'll have to do the forfeit. So the forfeit for this week may be quite familiar to you, as you made me do it a couple of weeks ago, which, may I add, I think I did a pretty incredible job, and it was quite the performance. So, I'm sure you remember it by now, but your forfeit is to sing the outline for today's programme.
You're taking your revenge.
I am indeed.
I've got to clear my throat. That's all for now. Thank you for listening. We'll be back in 2 weeks' time with another show. Goodbye for now.
LSJDrive.